Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Jamie, the OT. And for today's video, we're going to be doing 3 different activities you can do for Mother's Day or for just the springtime. So come along with me. So for the first activity, we're going to be needing some paper, some paint, a paintbrush, and also some Q-tips because we're going to be making some Q-tip art today to make some flowers. And what's interesting about this is I had blue and green paint, but I didn't have red paint. So what I did was I followed a simple recipe to make homemade paint. And it's safe for young kids, you can eat it. It's all it is was the recipe called for 1 tablespoon of flour, but I felt like it was a little bit too runny, so I did 2 tablespoons of flour, half of a teaspoon of salt, 1 to 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, depending on how red you want it, and 1/4 of a cup of boiling water. And you just whisk all those together, and you have yourself a homemade paint. And you could do this with other colors too. You don't have to do tomato puree. If you wanted to make blue paint, you could do blueberry puree. If you wanted to make green, you could do a spinach puree. So I thought that this was a neat little trick to do if you don't have paint at home. So we're going to start out, you're going to take your paintbrush, we're going to start out with some green paint, and we are going to be making 2 lines that go down. So we're also practicing some writing strokes, some pre-writing strokes by painting today. So, and you don't have to follow exactly what I do. It could be any direction that you want. Everybody's is going to look a little bit different. Then we have to make a couple of leaves since we are making flowers. And this is a fun activity really for anybody to do. Children, even adults. I enjoy painting a lot. I find it to be a very relaxing and soothing activity. Okay. So now you need a bunch of Q-tips. Let's see, I have about maybe 10 Q-tips and I put them in a rubber band, tie them together. We are going to dip it, and you don't have to use these colors. You could use any colors you want, but this is what I had on hand. So I'm going to dip it in some blue. And you're just gonna make dots around your paper. And we're making a circle today, so we're practicing shapes. You don't have to make a circle. You could do anything that you want. And they look so pretty. I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna do a little bit of red. Let's see, this is my homemade food coloring. Let's see how this one comes. It's almost like an orangey red. A little bit more. Let's see if we mix the red and the blue together, if we can make almost a purple. And you could do this as a card, as a front of a card. You can do it as a painting if you had a canvas. And I want to show you a different way that you can do this activity if you don't have access to paint or paintbrushes at home. You can actually use markers. So we're going to make a line down like this. Do the same thing that you're doing with your paint. Flower, the stem of a flower, and now you can take some markers that you have, and I actually tied this with a hair tie. If you don't have a rubber band, you could simply just use a hair tie. Take the caps off. And you could simply just make sure your markers are all lined up, and you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna make some dots on your paper like this. And you could do different shapes. If you wanted to make a lilac flower, they're more pointed, almost like a triangle. So this is just one activity that you can do. Simple, requires minimal materials, and it's fun. So for the next activity, we are going to be needing a piece of paper, a coffee filter, a small dropper like this. If you don't have this, you could even use a turkey baster, that might work. And then just a little bit of water. Oh, and also some markers. So, the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to take your coffee filter and you're going to do any kind of design on it that you want. So you could do lines, wavy lines, some dots. Let's change colors now. Any colors that you want you can use. Some circles. Some lines. Try to fill up a lot of the coffee filter. You could do anything you want. This would be a good way to practice your letters, your numbers, drawing shapes, practicing your pre-writing strokes. I'm just making some X's. Horizontal lines, diagonal lines. Okay. Now we're going to take our eyedropper here. We're going to fill it up. So this is also working our two fingers here for pinch or grasp and thumb opposition. And you are just going to, and at home you probably would want to put a plate underneath this just in case. But as you drop your dropper onto the coffee filter, watch what happens to the colors. We need a little more water here. And just be patient, this takes a few minutes sometimes. So this is what the finished product looks like when you're done, and if you wanted to, you can make it into a flower. So I have my white paper here. You can add a line on it, make it into a flower. When it's dry, you can fold it up and turn it into a butterfly. There's a lot of different things you can do using coffee filter art, and you can see how it's like a pretty tie-dye pattern. All of the colors have kind of blended together. And if you wanted to, if you didn't have a coffee filter, you could use a paper towel. It works really well with a paper towel as well. So just another fun thing to do for the springtime or also for Mother's Day. So our third and our final activity is, since Mother's Day is coming up right around the corner, I thought it would be fun to show you an idea to make your own homemade Mother's Day card. So I have a piece of white paper here, and I simply just folded it in half. And this is something to do, I would say, after we design our card, because you'll see what we're going to do, but the card is going to be a little bit wet. The card is going to be a little bit wet after we decorate it, so you might want to write this at the end, but I just wrote a simple message that says, "Dear Mom, Happy Mother's Day, I love you, love," and then you sign your name. So for this activity, you will be needing 3 different glasses, and each glass has 3 tablespoons of water in it. So I already have that prepped for you here. We're also going to be needing some food coloring and also some dish soap. So I'm going to add a squirt of dish soap into each glass. If you don't have glasses, you can just use a regular cup or a bowl, whatever you have. And now each glass is going to need 10 drops of food coloring. Okay, that was green. So this one's going to be pretty. We want the colors to be really dark because you'll see we're going to mix them up and make bubbles with them. And you don't have to obviously use these colors. You could use any colors that you like. Okay. So now we're going to take the color, we're going to mix it up. Mix, 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 and now we're going to blow. Whoa, look at what happened. When you blow it, it makes bubbles. So now you're going to take the card. Make sure you get your bubbles high enough. And it makes a really neat design on your card. So that was green. Now let's try with blue. So we're working on measuring, mixing, pouring, working on our fine motor skills to squeeze the bottles. We're working on our oral motor activities by blowing into the straw. Okay. So that was our blue. Look at the cool designs that it makes. And now we're going to try with our, let's see, this is like a dark yellow or a light orange color. Mix, mix, mix. Make sure you're mixing it. I remember being a kid and I used to do this with my chocolate milk. So some of the bubbles kind of got stuck to the card, but this was our yellow here. And you could go around the card and do as many colors or as little colors as you want. Let's try a little bit more blue. The blue seemed to work really nice. You could do the front of the card or the back of the card. You could do the inside of the card. Try a little bit more green. Another thing that you can do is, you could even try to blow a bubble onto the card with the straw. So yeah, this is a really fun activity you can do. Another one that you can do for Mother's Day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.